Saturdays here on Titan's Return Week means Voyager class, and we are still at the tail end of Autobot Edition, meaning we're looking at Sentinel Prime. And gee, I wonder if this one's going to go bad too. Oh wait, every Sentinel Prime goes bad. Well, at least they do fictionally. In toys, however, sometimes they go quite well, so we're going to look to see how this one turned out. You can see he is cast in Flare Orange, as well as a darker shade of Flare Orange. So I guess it's not flaring anymore. It's more the burnt orange look. I remember the original shots of this from, was it BotCon or SDCC where this debuted? It debuted, I can't remember where it debuted, but this is a little bit more subdued than its original appearance. I think a lot were worried how bright this one would look, but in person, it's actually not bad. It's a really bright shade of orange, but it's not glaringly so, and it's not like obnoxious in any way. He has a little bit of gray as well, just a little bit on the front ends, a little bit visible on the side, and we'll get to more of that in the robot mode. But for now, we are looking at him in what I think they were marketing as battle tank mode, and number one, as opposed to the tank that isn't for battle, like a propane tank, or it's not piloted by Hank Hill, so probably not. No, this is a train. I don't know why. I don't know. Why are you lying? This is a train. You can see, like, you look at the molding. It's got train wheels. It's got train wheels and ladders and all the things that trains have on the sides. It's almost as if this was meant to be another character. So yeah, what they're passing off as some kind of very weird, like, snake tank thing is actually a really buff-looking train. It's, there's a, for the Sentai fans in there, there's a Tokuger mech that this guy really reminds me of, at least engineering-wise, and you'll see why when we transform, too. But for this, it's not a bad mode. I mean, it's not the sleekest of trains, but I do think it's interesting how it's not just the engine section of the train. I think it's interesting how it's like super huge and long for a Voyager class vehicle. It definitely stands out as something a little bit unique in the line, and it reminds me a lot of Energon Omega Supreme's Super Train mode. You know, super long this way. One thing, there are some oddities here, like for instance, the fact that there are two front ends to the train, so it can run forward and backward, but it does look a little bit awkward, because you can definitely tell what's forward because of the big cockpit on top. You also have big turrets molded in. They don't rotate or anything. They are just static right there. That's all well and good. Everything else, not too shabby. There's a lot of panel detailing. There's a lot of little intricate molding going through a lot of details here. He's got a lot going on. I quite enjoy that. So, yeah. It's definitely weird as far as trains or tank modes go, either one, but it's not too bad. I'm kind of a fan. I'll go ahead and show you he does have plenty of ports for mounting weapons, two to the side here and two up here. Now, these can actually use one of his guns, which, like so, boom. But the other one is a little bit too big to actually fit unless you do it that way. But you're really not meant to, because this seat, or this gun, actually has a seat for a Titan Master, which you're meant to plug it in there and then let someone ride shotgun while literally being in a shotgun. The only problem is on mine, these are like really loose peg holes, so they really don't hold the weight the way they need to for this. Some of the pegs are painted on the guns, so it holds a little bit better, but it really does not carry enough friction to really hold the weight, so that's unfortunate. It might just be mine that does that. But needless to say, if you do want to have a Titan Master pilot it, you can also mount the gun in the top, and it does look like they are actually controlling the top gun, so a little bit of playability. There's so much playability in these Titans Return toys. I'm actually quite a fan of that. That said, there really isn't a whole lot more for Titan Masters to do besides sit in the shotgun seat. There's no little extra pegs anywhere on this vehicle mode, at least, which is really a weird thing considering the Deluxes actually did have multitudes of pegs, which is kind of weird. Feels like it's being left out somehow. Also, nothing like along the middle where you can plug in the seat gun. I would really like to have one right here for that, but alas, not to be. Let's go ahead and show you the Titan Master he actually does come with. This is Infinitus, which might be my favorite new name out of all of these Titan Master characters. Let's see if I can actually get the camera to focus on this tiny guy. Now, if you look at him closely, he does have a very Optimus Prime thing going on with his head, so I guess every Prime just looks like that. The orange does kind of give me almost an optimal Optimus vibe. I'm trying to adjust the light for his detail, but man, on my viewfinder, it's just flaring out, so I hope you can see it once I get this into the editor. As you can see, he only has a little bit of red on the face, as well as a little bit of gray plastic forming his body. This is pretty much standard for a Titan Master, aside from the fact that his arms and legs are the same color, which means his head mode is going to look a lot more solid. But that comes later. For now, I think it's time to transform, and for that, we got to get back to the actual tank, whatever, and get him into his other vehicle mode, because these Voyagers are all triple changers, as many things in this line are triple changers. So we're going to get these wings unfolded and move them out of the way, just so we can see what we're doing. Now here's the secret to his vehicle mode. It's all in panels, and these are the worst, flimsiest, most knockoff-y quality panels I've ever seen. Look how thin that panel is, and look how bent that is. That's how it came in box. That's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. All of these little panels like this are bent on mine to some degree, but that one I showed you first being by far the worst of the batch. It's really upsetting. Like, I understand panels are kind of a thing in transforming, but I never expected them to be so thin. This feels so cheap and flimsy. It's really a setback on this toy. But for now, we'll focus on the actual engineering of which now we bring all of this down. Before we close it off, we do have to flip the engine fronts so we can actually get a smoother front end for his second vehicle mode. I'm going to clamp all of that together and then connect the panels back down. Oh, sprung loose. Hang on. All right, we good? We're good. Put the arms down like so. The arms will find a place to peg in once we get this wheeled around and double hinge the wings down into position. You'll find that they tab into the arms like so. I can get this properly lined up. There we go. And a pretty simple transformation, all things considered. We now have him in a space shuttle mode. Space shuttle and train. Can't imagine what toy this was really meant to be, and it just kind of got shoved into an IDW-esque Sentinel Prime. So yeah, the vehicles are vastly different, which I approve of, and here I'm trying to, there we go. The vehicles themselves are vastly different, and I'm interested in the fact that like the train mode is having him like flatten out as much as he can, like horizontally, whereas this is asking him to flatten out vertically. You can see his chest and robot mode arms pretty obviously here, so definitely can tell what they're going for on the engineering front on this figure. But the panels, as well as how it handles the wings, really sells the two as completely individual vehicles, and they are very, very distinct from each other. So that is a pretty good engineering job. I'm also going to go up to the wing fin, tail fins there and split them open, just to show you what that's properly what it looks like. I tend to forget to do that because it's such a minor little detail. So what have we got here? Well, he's still the big flare orange color. All of the gray is now up front, forming the nose cone. You can see what should be some kind of cockpit, but nothing is painted in, so it's a little bit barren and hard to make out. I wish there was just a few bits here painted so I could tell that's like the forward section of the vehicle. So beyond that, we have a lot more panel detailing, some of it borrowed. He still has train wheels on top here, but I don't know, at least they look like different machinery when they're aligned that way, so I'm not going to give it too hard of a time. You can see the paneling here actually matches the surface of the wings a little bit better, much more into the style, which does help you visually incorporate these as a distinct vehicle. You also see a little bit of yellow in this mode, as well as well, pretty much everything else. I like the turrets ended up on the sides too, so everything kind of is in its appropriate spot. Now again, we're not seeing any kind of integration with the Titan Masters. There are no pegs on him to mount any of them on. He just does not want to play with others. I don't know why. It's a little bit disheartening. He doesn't want to cooperate. Now, he does have little ports on the undersides of his wings, so he can actually mount his guns on the undersides, like so. You want him to be a little bit more heavily armed, and we do still have access to the ports that were in the train mode up there in the back. They're at a weird angle now and have tail fins in the way, but you can arrange things to use them if you want to. They're there, might as well. So yeah, I am happy. The two vehicle modes are quite distinct from each other. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and finish this off. We'll get him into robot mode and finally see what the big deal is about him. He's supposed to be kind of inspired by the IDW version of this character. At least that's where they get the color scheme from. But the robot mode does not quite fit what he was originally. You'll see if you haven't seen the figure before. Yeah, the transformation from shuttle to robot is really simple. And honestly, the engineering on this guy is pretty intuitive and simplistic, all things considered. But, ow, hang on. Okay, that was a stubborn hand with very short fingernails. That hurt. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'm going to hinge these wings like so. So we have some extra shoulder room. Rotate all of this down. Now we're just ready for his little head man. So we'll go ahead and fold him up. Nice, quick, and easy. And careful. Plop him in the way I like to plop him in, so he's a little bit more sturdy. And with that out of the way, oh wait, we got one last thing we have to do. We have to hit this little switch on his belly, which makes those little pieces of side pop up, kind of bulking out the head a little bit, just so it looks a little bit more appropriate for the body. But with that, we have a completed Voyager class Sentinel Prime, IDW inspired. Nice. I adjust the camera a little bit so we can get a better look at him. He definitely has the vestige of a Prime. He is very solid and boxy in the right ways, in the right locations, and definitely has this big, powerful structure to him, which works out quite well. We did look at the head already, thanks to transformation sequence, but we'll go ahead and take another look. It is very Optimus Prime, as most of the Primes in these fictional stories tend to be. He has the tiniest little Autobot symbol on his chest, but, you know, for the most part, works out pretty well. I like the layered mask on this guy. Like because of that and the orange mask, I always get an Optimal Optimus vibe from him, but I don't know, he's trying very hard to stand out as something a little bit more unique than that. So, whatever. It is at least a little bit unique in that. So yeah, he is still very bright orange, but it is now being tempered by quite a few of these darker orange, these burnt orange paint apps, as well as more yellow that's being seen through the shoulders and midsection, and a lot more of that gray. The arms and thighs really break up the orange and kind of temper the color scheme just enough. This is where that flare look to him is kind of gone away. And as I look at his chest now, I realize I forgot to actually demonstrate the landing skiffs that are in the shuttle mode, because he doesn't actually have landing gear. He has little skiffs for landing. It's a little bit strange, a little bit interesting design choice. So, I know I couldn't get through every one of these videos without screwing up something. But yeah, we do definitely have something that is obviously going to be Astro Train someday. But it's obvious they did a lot trying to make you think of him as a different character. It does have some extra silver paint apps on the chest, around the legs, and, you know, as I said, a lot more deco around the chest. And for the most part, most of what you saw in the vehicle mode makes up his robot. He has very little junk to deal with here. You know, if we open up the tail fins on the back, flatten out the backpack just a wee bit more, he really does not have a whole lot of extra kibble from the vehicle. I think that just again, like I said, the engineering on him, not all that complicated, but still manages to pull off some pretty distinct modes, all things considered. So yeah, I'm actually kind of a fan here. We look at articulation now. We see he does have head rotation. It is blocked by these big block things, but you can get a little bit of rotation out of them. They're all on one big base, so you actually do get some kind of motion of the entire head section. Nice engineering on that. You get universal movement with the arms thanks to a hinge as well as a swivel at the shoulder, bicep rotation, and nice elbows that go beyond 90. Nothing in the waist due to how he transforms on this guy. Thighs are universal and a little bit ratcheted. That's nice to see. The outward motion, unfortunately, does detent out in a little bit too far, a little bit too wide of a stance, but the detents are actually pretty weak on him, so you can get him in a bit more of a natural, slightly splayed appearance. We do have a thigh rotation that works quite well as a 90-degree knee. No rock in the ankle, but you can see the feet are quite large and should hold poses pretty well. I wish there was some kind of heel spur, though. That's the unfortunate thing. This is just a big, solid block here. I don't know why that wasn't engineered in, but it wasn't. So it might be a little bit unbalanced in some poses. All around, though, still, nice job. He still has plenty of articulation and still managed to look pretty solid in all of his posing potential. Again, though, he's really lacking all of those extra pegs and ports that the Deluxes enjoyed, so I'm not really getting as much of the Titan Master playability out of this character in any of the modes, which is a little bit disappointing. That said, that is Voyager class Sentinel Prime. Yes, he is clearly a holdover for Astro Train, a use of that mold to create an IDW character that hasn't had a representation yet. And for the most part, he's a very solid figure. Like, the three modes are very distinct, they are very good. The color scheme is very bright, but not quite so much in person. It is tempered just enough to not be not be like annoying on your shelves. My grievances come mostly from some of the loose pegs, as well as all those cheap little panels that are folded up on his legs in this mode. It's a big part of getting his vehicle modes to work, but man, they just feel so flimsy and cheap. It's a real knock against what is otherwise a really solid outing for the Voyager class Titan's return.